As international forces assist East Timor emerge from violence and mayhem, the political push is now on to force the country's Prime Minister, Dr. Mari Al-Khateeri, to stand down. Al-Khateeri is a terrorist, a communist, a Muslim, say the men at this rally up in the hills to Foreign Minister Ramos Horta. The rumours about Dr. Al-Khateeri are many and wild, but evidence is thin on the ground. It's here we're told for the first time that Al-Khateeri ordered his Minister for the Interior to hand over weapons to a secret civilian security team.
These
weapons were given by Rogério Lobato, but were authorized by Mari to give to members of the Fratling Congress.
This is what you believe?
This happened. It happened many times over.
Tonight, East Timor's Commissioner of Police reveals to Four Corners documentary evidence that the Prime Minister, Mari Al-Khateeri, knew one of his ministers was arming civilians. He knows how damaging this could be. Are you fearful of the consequences?
Consequences, yeah. Maybe they have to make some trouble with me.
While life is returning to the streets of Dili, thousands of refugees are still too scared to return to their homes. They don't trust that it's over yet. The threats, the rivalries, the political intrigues that inflame the violence all remain unresolved. Tonight on Four Corners, we seek to uncover how it could come to this. It's around 8 a.m. at police headquarters in the East Timorese capital of Dili. Every morning now, the police who have not abandoned their jobs put on their uniforms and go through the motions of pretending they still have authority and a job they can do. The reality is they're not allowed out on the streets for fear of provoking further violence and mayhem, but it's important for morale to keep up the parades. Inspector Alfonso de Jesus is today the senior officer of the PNTL, as the Timorese police force is known. It's just over 3 weeks since 7 of his colleagues were shot dead in cold blood after a gun battle with the country's army, the FDTL. Why was the army opening fire on the police?
This one, I don't know the reason why they are fighting on us.
The bloodstains are still on the stairwell where police were hit by the incoming fire. It's not the first time that rivalry between the police and the military has erupted into violence. The army has increasingly resented the aid money, weapons and resources poured into establishing a police force when it was members of the army who fought for Timor's independence. On the morning when the gun battle was raging, Inspector Alfonso got a call from the Prime Minister, Mari Al-Khateeri.
He called me by the phone. He said, "That's okay, Alfonso, you should stop the firings." But I respond to the Prime Minister that, okay, we are not fighting, but the FDL still keep attacking us in this building. After that,
so the Prime Minister rang you and said, well, could the police stop firing?
Stop the firing. They think that we are the one is the fighting, but I said that we are not fighting.
The gun battle was being observed with mounting alarm by United Nations police and military advisors. At around 11 a.m, 2 of them made a fateful plea to their boss, head of the UN mission, Tsukihiro Hasegawa.
They came to me and they felt very strongly that they have ability to stop the firing. Both sides, they know FDTL officers and also PNTL officers.
The UN officials talked with the head of the military and with senior police. Assurances were given, a deal was made. If the police surrendered their weapons, the army would allow the unarmed officers safe passage out of their compound under UN escort. Many of the police were reluctant. It was Inspector Alfonso's job to persuade them.
You personally asked the police officers to give up their weapons?
Weapons, so all our weapons we surrendered to the Mr. Fernando Reyes and also the other friends from the Ampol.
Okay. Just wait. Hey, please.
Within minutes of emerging, the police officers were gunned down. This was the aftermath. 4 people were shot dead on the road. 3 died later in the UN compound. 25 were wounded. Witnesses say 2 or 3 men in army uniforms had been waiting for them down at the corner of the road. No one is officially saying who gave the order to shoot, but this shocking event revealed to the world how close East Timor was to a bloody collapse into a failed state.
They shot at Timorese police officers, and they carefully avoided the UN police officers. It was incredible that UN police officers were not shot to death.
So it was not random?
No, it was very well, in fact, perhaps planned attack.
I made it clear to Mr. Segao that as government we are open for investigation. Not to investigate all the situation, including this one.
You will investigate all the situations that have occurred?
Yes.
Prime Minister Al-Khateeri arrives at the National Parliament building under the protection of Australian soldiers. Even with protection, he can no longer mix with the people he governs. He was never a popular figure before, and now, given the chaos in the country, his leadership is under siege.
Prime Minister Al-Khateeri?
After?
Okay.
Al-Khateeri spent the 25 years of the independence struggle in exile, mostly in Marxist Mozambique. He returned at the end of 1999.
People say of the Prime Minister that he has an arrogant and aloof style and is a Marxist. Are they right?
I think he's far from being a Marxist. I work closely with him. If you look at the policies that the government has adopted in terms of developing the private sector, policies driven largely also by the Prime Minister. So I think that accusation that he's a Marxist falls very, very foul.
Jose Teixeira is the PM's spokesman. A former Brisbane lawyer, he left East Timor when he was 11, returning in 2002. Work today is organising last-minute details for a visit from Foreign Minister Alexander Downer. Teixeira believes that Dr Al-Khateeri's tough stance in the negotiations over oil and gas rights in the Timor Gap won him no friends in Canberra.
Do you feel that there's been pressure from the Australian government in terms of who should run this country?
Look, I'm sure that that this Prime Minister and this government are not the favourites of people in Canberra, and I don't just mean the political personalities in Canberra, but others that form part of the Canberra establishment.
The Prime Minister's still with the General from Malaysia. He's asked if you could possibly take it.
Alexander Downer arrives half an hour late. He and his entourage had gone to see one of the Prime Minister's political rivals, Foreign Minister Jose Ramos-Horta, first. So Dr Al-Khateeri keeps them waiting now.
Oh, hi, Prime Minister. Nice to see you again.
Al-Khateeri was not as keen as Ramos-Horta to seek international military assistance, but he signed on the dotted line. He says he's getting no foreign pressure to resign before elections scheduled in 6 to 9 months' time.
No, up to now I haven't got any pressure from any government. Of course, some people have been delivering some statements that it will be better for the solution of the conflict if the Prime Minister stepped down, but I think that this is not it's unfair, but I don't really consider it as a pressure.
Who are you singling out there?
You know very well who I'm thinking of. The problem is, obviously, can the country afford the next 6 months, 9 months of this continuing pressure on the Prime Minister to resign? Can we afford this increasing loss of credibility of the government and the poor image of the country? Or should the Prime Minister say, well, I step aside in the interest of my own party? It seems that I am a liability to my own party, if not to the country.
The pressure began 2 months ago. There was a 5-day demonstration by 600 sacked army officers known as the petitioners and their supporters. They claim they suffer discrimination because, unlike most of the senior army officers, they came from the west of the country, near the Indonesian border. They say they're portrayed as collaborators with Indonesia, while the Easterners take all the credit for the independence struggle. By the middle of the day, hooligans had swelled the crowd and it turned ugly. Rocks were thrown, cars were torched, the regular police lost control, and the riot police in black opened fire. By late in the day, the mayhem had spread. The Prime Minister called in the army. By nightfall, 60 people had been shot. 5 people were dead. Did you authorise those troops to fire on the demonstration?
No. One thing is to call the troops to help the police to control the situation. The other thing is to fire against the demonstration. I made it clear when the instructions were clear to control, to get them away and not to follow, to go after them. The defense force must not be brought to prevent or to stop civil unrest because they are not trained for that, and you never know for sure the consequences when they enter in the city and without consulting the head of state, particularly someone like Xanana Guzmão, who has an exceptionally good political instinct. That is, yes, a grave error of judgment.
Over the following days, warring factions of the security forces turned on each other. Gangs of hooligans roamed the streets. 45 homes were burnt to the ground. People were shot and stabbed. Some were burnt alive. More than 14,000 people fled their homes in terror and camped in the grounds of churches, embassies and out near the airport. 70% of police deserted their posts, and a rebel army faction took their cars and their guns to the hills in solidarity with the petitioners.
Do I look like, rebel?
Their leader, Major Alfredo Renado, remains there still, demanding that Alkatiri resigns.
I said you have to step back from their position and face their investigation, and if he proven he had do anything wrong with his leadership, he will go and face the court. And
2 weeks ago, Foreign Minister Ramos Horta arrives at the presidential office to be sworn in as the new Minister for Defence. Following the violence, the Interior Minister and the Minister for Defence have both been pressured to stand down.
Is that fair?
Yes, that's absolutely fair, because ministers in other countries stand down for minor offences. So that, as a first step, that is fair.
On that basis, should the Prime Minister, as the head of the government, resign for precisely the same reasons?
I knew if I had answered this question, your next question would be precisely that one. So I prefer to abstain from responding to this question.
Foreign ambassadors and the United Nations crowd into a small back room to witness the swearing in. Everyone is waiting for the President Xanana Gusmão to arrive, including at the back, Prime Minister Mari Alkatiri. 3 days before, the President publicly announced that he was assuming principal responsibility for security issues. Has the actions of the President undermined any authority that the Prime Minister has in terms of his capacity to govern this country?
I'm not going to comment on that.
No comment?
No comment, no.
Has the President placed any pressure on you to resign?
Who?
The President.
No, never. President is one of the stronger defender of the Constitution here in this country.
President Xanana Gusmão arrives. While publicly maintaining a semblance that they're working together, it's widely known that Xanana Gusmão has sought legal advice about whether under Timor's constitution he has the power to sack Alkatiri. The short answer is no, not without a parliamentary vote of no confidence, and in the parliament, Alkatiri's Fretland party has the numbers. The only provision that would force the Prime Minister to stand aside is if he were charged with a serious criminal offence. The rift between the Prime Minister and the President goes back 20 years, when Gusmão left the Fretland party to adopt a more centrist, more inclusive, less hardline stance.
Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, it was not supposed to be so solemn ceremony, but I must recognize that because of the situation, it is a special one.
Would you describe the relationship between the President and the Prime Minister as the President being very supportive of the Prime Minister?
Well, I would not say that the President is very supportive of the Prime Minister. I would say that the President is very mindful of his responsibility, particularly in time of crisis, but also in normal times, to ensure that the institutions of the state, the democratic institutions of the state, do function normally.
2 days later, we hear that new Defence Minister Jose Ramos-Horta has headed southwest of Dili to meet with rebel soldiers and their supporters who've rallied in the township of Gleno. As we arrive, Ramos-Horta is telling the rally that he's asked for an international inquiry into who's behind the violence and killings between the warring security factions.
Investigação internacional se lá boa. How level hat that what se look how take hey day. Tap se lá how most falta respeito fali comissão internacional.
The people here have brought their banners and trucks because they're planning to demonstrate in Dili tomorrow, calling on the Prime Minister to resign. Ramos-Horta tells them this is their democratic right.
I said, it is your right to demonstrate, and I do not necessarily going to say you should not or should not. That's not my responsibility.
Would you describe those people in Gleno as your supporters?
Well, it seemed like at one many of them said I should be the Prime Minister. Yes, in many places. Just now I came from Aliana. Everywhere I have been to, Baucau, everywhere. And I have had tremendous sympathy, support, warmth from the people, by the thousands, by the hundreds. And I feel overwhelmed, maybe because they are desperate, looking for leadership, looking for people they can trust.
Major Tara in the baseball cap is the leader of this group. He's still officially in the Timorese army, but deserted to the rebels after April 28th. We asked him why the Prime Minister should stand down now. Why not wait for elections?
There's too much evidence. We can't wait till the next election because some members of Fretland already have guns and they are threatening people so that people will vote for Alkatiri.
Later we're taken further into the hills to meet up with Lieutenant Salsinya, head of the group of so-called petitioners. He's supposed to have the evidence, documentary evidence, that the Prime Minister has given weapons to members of the Fretland Party. This is a serious allegation, maybe, if true, enough to force Alkatiri to stand down.
In the documents, there are listed which district, how many weapons in every district, who responsible for this weapon, and who carried this weapon, all in document, name including.
And these are civilians?
Civilian and civil.
Civil, civil, yeah. Civilian, militante, Fretland.
Civilian and some of them Fretland militant. Yeah.
But it turns out the documents are not available.
At the moment they don't have, but yeah.
It is possible for us to see them later?
Ansa, mais menos ansang, orsidas ne bela hare documents nega.
Orsidas sila bela tamba, pwede sila fatin dok.
Because it's still not possible because these documents they keep not in this place, somewhere else.
You keep them somewhere else. Is it possible for you to introduce us to the 3 civilians who have made the statements? Is it possible for us to talk with them?
Bela apakah ia possibilidade para ansang bela tenente bela ansang artinya memperkenalkan sirna turun ho siraneka bela kala bela anda atas rumah
sir super.
No, they are hiding in somewhere. So.
The following day, a long convoy of trucks heads down from the hills and from the far western border towns into the capital of Dili. They were stopped at the outskirts for half an hour or so, but after a few calls on the mobile phone, Major Tara accepts the deal put to him by Jose Ramos Horta. The demonstrators can come into the capital, they can deliver their demands to President Xanana Gusmão himself and then leave, but keep it under control. There's a little bit of rock throwing, but that's about it, as the convoy slowly wends its way to the President's office. About 2,000 people have come to demand that Prime Minister Alkatiri stand down.
Do you think you've lost the support of the people?
2,000. This country is not a country of 2,000 people. This country is a country of 1 million people. That's why 2,000 is your number. My number is even much less than 2,000. I have put people counting one by one, and it's up not more than 1,000 people.
You've had people counting one by one, and you put it at 1,000.
Yeah.
The fact that it's a 2,000 or 1,000 is small for the scale of Dili and East Timor, but it is true the depth of dissatisfaction and criticism of the government as a whole, and in particular the Prime Minister, is much more widespread than the number of people demonstrating the other day, 1,000 or 2,000. It's widespread sentiment.
President Gusmão thanks the crowd for coming and reminding him of his responsibilities, but makes no mention of their central demand that Alkatiri should stand down. He appeals for calm and promises he'll address the many crises that face the country.
Does there come a point where unpopularity alone is a good enough reason for a Prime Minister to stand down?
Well, let me tell you one thing. No one has asked me personally to step down. If I were to receive, just 10% of the criticisms that the Prime Minister received, all kinds of invitations to step down, well, I would have stepped down long ago.
The following night, we get a message. The group of men who claim they were given weapons on the orders of Alkatiri are ready to meet us. The meeting place is Likasa, an hour's drive west of Dili. Their leader, Commander Raylos, is there when we arrive, But before we talk, we must wait for the rest of the group.
He has to wait for the coming of other members together so that he can report in full with the members.
I understand. Thank you very much. We'll wait till the other people arrive.
They're travelling on bad roads from various locations. There could be some time. While we wait, we're given a document that purports to be a memo written to the then Interior Minister Rogério Lobato, dated the 20th of May 2006. It's headed Fretlin Secret Security Team, and attached is a list of 30 names, whom we're told are all the members of the team. There's a further list of the serial numbers of 16 weapons, next to the names of the men who were given them. The memo says that Commander Reylos was asked by Minister Lobato 6 weeks ago to recruit and arm a team of former resistance fighters because the situation in the country has been threatened by an opposition party. It reports a claimed meeting on the 8th of May where Mari Alkatiri speaks with Commander Reylos about how to settle the issues that have arisen between East and West, but nothing more specific than that. An hour and a half later, we drive to a new location. The team is assembled and they've brought their guns. Commander Reylos has put on a uniform as well, but he and his men are not soldiers, they're civilians.
Can we come inside and talk?
Okay, ao pronto.
Thank you.
Once inside, Commander Reylos made a series of allegations about the purpose of this team, some far more serious and sinister than in the document we'd read. He spoke about a 30-minute meeting with Mari Alkatiri.
In this meeting, he instructed Comrade Rogério to distribute weapons to the Fretlin Secret Security Team.
He alleged he was told the team's secret mission over the next 12 months was as follows.
Firstly, to eliminate petitioners, totally destroy petitioners. Secondly, to terminate opposition leaders. Thirdly, to exterminate the military leaders like Major Alfredo, Major Tara, Major Tillman and their men who have taken weapons into the mountains. And finally, to eliminate any Fretlin members who oppose the policy of Marie and of Fretlin.
Reylos' team had used their weapons in a gun battle with the regular army in the so-called T-Bar incident. This is footage of his men in action. He says 4 people were killed, and this is why he decided to abandon his loyalty to Mari Alkatiri.
Then I realized maybe I should be on the side of the petitioners against the FDTL. At that point, I realized Marie wanted to divide the people and keep control of the government.
Reylos makes what seems an unlikely claim, that though he's now telling the rest of the world, he has not informed President Guzmão.
We haven't informed the president. Marie ordered that.
When we asked how he could prove any of this, Reylos put on an unexpected show. He lined up his men with their weapons, safety catches off, and then dialed what he said was former Minister Lobato's mobile phone. Reylos told Lobato opposition parties are preparing to attack, and now he gives his men the signal.
Filha da puta, toma! Mau. Ne tirmal makasih, sirma em makasliu. Dago kona namnian. Kona soldado.
Cuidado com esse papo, tassi. Observa, não vai, ita recua na fato.
Recua. Para close, mau.
Sira maitan, no grupo de mais torne.
Careta, não vai.
Ok. Então eu tenho que recuar mais fácil na vez para defender, ok?
Ok.
Mas não tem contato com a Câmara Maria? Ok, então
We checked the mobile number the following day, and Rogério Lobato did indeed answer the phone. Reilos then produced more evidence. He'd saved the former minister's text messages as well. He showed us this one sent from Lobato's mobile phone, dated June the 4th. That's 2 days before the anti-Alkatiri rally was headed for Dili. To Reilos, opposition will come from Umera, intending to demonstrate in Dili to put down the government. Why not stop them at the coffee plantation in Reilaku and burn all 26 trucks? Reilos had no proof of his allegations against the Prime Minister, just one text message from Alkatiri's mobile, date June the 1st. All it said was, "Where are you going?" Are you aware of a group called the Fretland Secret Security Team?
This is wrong. There is no Fretland Secret Security for sure.
Are you aware of that title?
This is one of the rumours. Yes.
One of the rumours.
Yeah.
We met a group of 30 armed men last night who said they were the Fretland Secret Security Team.
Yeah.
And they also said that they were recruited and armed by your former Interior Minister, Rogério Lobato, under your orders.
Yeah, now you will even really identify others, 30 or 50 or 60, and try the groups will try to accuse former minister or also current ministers or myself. But this doesn't mean that it's not a manipulation of others. I do believe that there is no civil, not regular armed peoples that were armed by the government.
The Prime Minister agreed that he did have a meeting with Commander Reilos. Reilos is a fellow member of the Fretland Party, but Alkatiri says all the allegations that Reilos makes are false.
People are now looking to demonize my image. This is the only thing I can say.
Where do you imagine they got their guns from?
Please, it's better to ask them.
Well, I did ask them, and they said it was from you.
I never had one gun in my hands. I am not police, I am not army force, I am Prime Minister.
The following day, we called at Rogério Lobato's house. Good morning. My name's Liz Jackson from Australian Television. Mr. Rogério Lobato.
Call to Mr. Rogério?
Yes, please.
Mr. Top for you?
Yes, please.
Okay, wait.
Thank you. We wanted to ask the former minister some questions, and he was no longer answering his mobile phone.
Sorry, Mr. Rogério called to phone for... He come? No. Mr. Rogério, no.
He's not here, or he doesn't want to speak to us?
No, here. No, maybe sleeping.
He's sleeping?
Yeah.
Oh, we're happy to wait. We'll just wait then.
No, I thought Mr. Rogério not talk.
What, you spoke with him?
Yeah.
So he's not asleep?
I don't know.
We're not getting anywhere, so decide instead to call the head of the Border Police, Antonio de Cruz. According to the document we got from Reilos, he was actually the person who gave him the guns at 10 p.m. at night in a cemetery at Lauhata. We track him down in the border town of Maliana. This is Antonio de Cruz speaking. Good morning, sir.
Yes, good morning, madam.
Good morning. I am very good. My name is Liz Jackson from ABC TV.
Oh, ABC TV, yes.
Yes.
Yeah, cool. He's the National Commander of the Border Patrol Unit.
Good to speak with you, sir. Commander Reilos says that on the 8th of May you were at the Lauhata cemetery near Likisa and that you gave him 10 AK weapons and 6,000 rounds of ammunition.
Yes. You already confirmed this information from who?
Commander Reilos.
Yes.
And it's true?
Yes, it's true.
It's true. Who told you to give those guns and ammunition to Commander Reilos?
It's from our I'm receiving order from our Interior Minister.
Rogério Lobato, the Interior Minister, told you to give Commander Reilos
the guns and the ammunition, yes?
Yes.
Do you know for what purpose?
I don't know exactly what kind is thinking about it, but I'm the one of the member of the Police National Timor-Leste, and I'm the responsibility for the border patrol unit. I'm received the order to request some our long gun to this member directly to our minister, and our minister said that you have to give it for the commander Rylos, and I'm just doing.
Just following orders?
Yes.
Do you know if the Prime Minister Mari Al-Khatiri gave those orders to the Interior Minister? Do you know if Mari Al-Khatiri knew that you were giving weapons to Commander Rylos?
I'm not sure, and I'm never sitting together with our Prime Minister, because I'm just member from the National Police.
Rogerio Lobato's security guard has appeared, so it's time to wind up. But Antonio de Cruz tells us he'll fax us the dispatch records he prepared that list the serial numbers of all the weapons and to whom they were sent. 2 pages arrive. The first page shows 15 HK-33 weapons dispatched to His Excellency the Minister of the Interior on the 8th of May 2006. The second, a further 8 guns dispatched to the Minister on the 21st of May. We checked the serial numbers of this list of weapons against the serial numbers we got from Rylos. 15 out of the 16 of Rylos's guns are listed here. The 2 we filmed in Likasa were in the first dispatch. We put this to Jose Ramos-Horta. What does it suggest to you that the head of the Border Police is asked to give weapons to the Minister of the Interior, which end up in an armed civilian group?
Well, obviously that is a very grave breach, a very grave offence. It would be understandable if the Interior Minister ordered the weapons away from a sensitive area to be locked away. But when the weapons are returned to him and reassign them to civilians, that is an absolutely grave matter. I'm not saying that this is a fact, but if this is what happened, is a very grave matter.
Arming civilians is a serious offence, yes?
Of course. I'm a lawyer myself.
A sacking offence?
Arming civilian is against the whole policy of this government.
And it would be a sacking offence?
Yeah.
The Prime Minister has already told us that he believes no civilians were armed by his government. But just as we're leaving, we get information that suggests this isn't true. We've driven up into the hills behind Dili to Police Commissioner Paolo Martin's house. After the attacks on police, it was no longer safe for him in Dili, and here he has armed protection. We want to show the Commissioner a handwritten letter that we believe he wrote to the Prime Minister, Mari Al-Khatiri, dated the 19th of May.
Sir, we have come to see you because we want to be absolutely sure that this is the letter that you wrote to the Prime Minister.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
The letter informs the Prime Minister of an urgent matter. That on the 8th of May, the Commissioner of Police for Suai saw a person by the name of Arakat and 8 of his colleagues with HK-33 weapons that belonged to the Border Police. Arakat is a senior member of Commander Rylos's group.
So, in your letter to the Prime Minister, you told him that the weapons had gone to a member of Commander Rylos's group?
I told this letter is a member of the name Arakat.
Who was a member of Commander Rylos's group.
The letter goes on to state that Arakat's weapons were the 17 weapons that had been handed over to the Minister of the Interior. It concludes, "If this was done with the knowledge of Your Excellency, I will not do anything to the contrary, but the population is panicking, and if these measures continue, there will not be a way to put an end to the current problems." Paolo Martins did not give the letter directly to the Prime Minister in person.
No, I give it through the Secretary of the Prime Minister Dr. Guterres.
And what did you say to Dr. Guterres about this letter?
I tell him that the letter is very top secret, and you have to deliver the letter when the Prime Minister stay alone.
When he's by himself, yes?
Yes.
3 days later, the Commissioner of Police asked to see Mari Alkatiri.
On 21st of May, in the morning, I called the Prime Minister that I have a meeting with the Minister of Interior, and after that meeting, I will, if I have possibility to have a meeting with the Prime Minister. But Prime Minister tell me that you can come to see me, but don't speak about the weapon.
He directly asked you not to talk to him about these weapons that you had drawn his attention to?
Yes.
So, as far as you know, nothing was ever done after you sent the letter?
Yes.
But the Prime Minister definitely knew?
Yes.
If the Prime Minister had just an awareness that a group of people were being armed, Fretland group of people were being armed to ensure security, is that serious?
Of course, that alone is serious. We have enough police in this country. Why having, thousands of police that have more weapons than the army, and we still need to arm civilians, and this is just mind-boggling. I just don't understand why, if that's the fact, why he would condone it, why, being who he is, Prime Minister, but a very legal-minded person, he would not stop it right away.
We went back to the Prime Minister seeking his response to these further allegations, but we've had no reply. We can only assume he'll give the same response as before, that all the allegations about him are just slurs by his political rivals, both inside and outside the cabinet room.
The situation here in this country now is a very complex one, as you know.
And will you be investigating your former Interior Minister?
I'm open for, I told already to the international community, to the United Nations, to come and to investigate everything.
If it were true, would you stand down?
This is always your target, is how stand down or step down or not. I made it clear that I will never step down.
Even if I feel in my conscience that I'm innocent, even if, or in my conscience say, well, these allegations are not all 100% true, but are 10% true, I would have stepped down. My own honor, my own dignity, my own pride would not keep me, in office.
While the political games and power plays continue, those with no power have just modest demands. Beatrice de Jesus lost her husband Santiago in the slaughter of the unarmed police on the road to the UN compound. She wants to know who was responsible, who ordered the troops, or were they civilians, to open fire. She's hoping for justice, but just a sign that someone cared would help.
No one has come to see us about his death. Since his death, no one from his force came to see us. Not even his commanders have come. We called to ask them if we can have his body back, but we've been told that we cannot remove his body until further notice.